Welcome back to Pokemon Team Videos. If you hear a random sound that goes dun 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 dun, that's my advanced being weird at the moment. I was cleaning out my computer yesterday to try to optimize its speed a bit more. I had like a bunch of junk stuff on there, and I accidentally deleted something, which allowed me to use my OBS. I'm like, oh crap, I installed something back in there, but now the damn advanced keeps registering, oh, something's not right here, restart the computer, virus, whatever. I'm like, okay, restart it, but it keeps showing up. It's like, I just restarted it. So anyway, I think I took care of it. But if you randomly hear something come up with like a bum bum bum, threat detected or something like that, it's like, oh, Jesus, this is going to be a long day, isn't it? So yeah. But it seems to have stopped. Fingers crossed. Anyway, now that we're almost a minute in, this one comes to us from Wade Wilson, who asked the question, what Lantern Corps does Kenpachi Zaraki of Bleach have? Bleach, I've been no shy man about, or I have not been shy about my opinion on Bleach. Bleach is one of my favorite animes. I don't know if it's my favorite of all time, but it's definitely up there. I mean, it's also a shonen anime, so I'm not foolish enough to think that, oh, it's like one of the best animes ever, story, all that. It's got a great story, it's got great action, design, concepts, all that. But look, I'm taste is subjective, so take it for what it is. But Bleach has always been one of my favorites, especially among the shonen series. Maybe among the shonen series, it was my favorite. Definitely, I would say that. Then maybe like Dragon Ball, Naruto, My Hero, they all fight for different spots depending on the day. But obviously in the story of Bleach, you have the 13 Court Guard Squad, this elite group of soldiers from Soul Society, spirit warriors, if you will, who defend the group, and they have the captains. Kenpachi Zaraki is the battle captain of the 11th division. He is the captain that is the one who loves. He is the one who will not fall no matter how many times he is cut. He is the berserker. He is the brute force power of the 13 Court Guard Squad. And then, trust me, come near the end of the series, if you haven't read the end of the series, 1,000 Year of Blood War, they show you some Kenpachi stuff you will not believe, my friend. If you have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. But, and let's be clear, I could do literally a Pokemon team video for every member of the Bleach series, and that could fill out like God knows how many Pokemon videos. But right now we're got Kenpachi. And what is the team that I think Kenpachi would have? Well, with Kenpachi, the things that represent Kenpachi, that's never been a huge issue of contention for me at all. Because it's just like, okay, I know like what represents Kenpachi, certainly. But what Pokemon represent the things that represent Kenpachi? That's the question I have. So I had to think on that. So first and foremost, Kenpachi is one of the only captains that, at least in the original series, actually he's the only one who didn't have a Bankai, Shikai, or like the upgraded forms of your sword. Your Shikai shows off what the overall ability of your sword is, and the Bankai is the true manifestation of that ability, which can change the form, size, area of effect, all that kind of stuff. But Kenpachi was the only character who did not know the name of his Zanpakuto, and yet was still a captain. He didn't even know it. Shikai didn't know Bankai. Spoilers, he does later get those in the series, and we will talk about the Pokemon that represent that to some degree. But he was a character that used only his swordsmanship, his sheer power, and Ryatsu, his spiritual energy, if you will. So, obviously, I had to give him a Honedge. It's a ghost type as well, which fits with the whole idea that Shinigami, Soul Reapers, are spirit beings. But I mean, Honedge, it's a literal sword Pokemon. Honedge is one of my favorite Gen 6 Pokemon too. Whenever I play Gen 6, I do try to get a Honedge, just because Honedge are pretty awesome. Doublades are pretty cool, and then Aegislash is a really good book. Ghost Steel, never underestimate the power of a Ghost Steel type. Like they have how many immunities do they have? Immunity from fighting, immunity from normal, immunity from poison. There's 18 types if I'm not mistaken. Actually, am I mistaken? How many types of Pokemon there are now? Because I believe there was like 16 original types or something like that. 15 original types. How many types were there? One. Sorry, I'm just checking. Okay, yeah. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 10 types. Sorry, there's 10 overall types now. And that means out of 10 types, he's got immunity from 3. That's over 20%. Like, that's actually 30% right there. If I'm not mistaken. No, that's over. No, yeah, there's 20 types. God, sorry. Hey, that's 15%. My, wow. Yeah, that's 15%. Still, that's 15% of the Pokemon he's got just a Ghost Steel type has immunities from, which also plays into a factor of Kenpachi's straight durability and lack of being affected by certain techniques. Kenpachi, for some basically, as we got near the end of the series, the writer, Taita Kubo, basically said, logic just doesn't apply to Kenpachi. Don't even think of logic when you think of Kenpachi at this point. So Kenpachi is allowed to get away with a lot of things on the grounds that, yeah, it's because he's that strong that logic just doesn't apply to this guy anymore. So with Kenpachi, Honedge just makes 100% sense. It's a sword, it's a Pokemon, it's got some immunities, he's got resistances just naturally. There you go. The next one on the list that I felt was like, okay, I need at least one fighting type Pokemon. So what do I want to get? And I'm like, all right, I'm looking at the fighting type Pokemon. I'm like, none of these really fit Kenpachi very well. Like, we have a sword Pokemon, but we don't really have many, if any, Pokemon that are fighting type that look like they wield a sword of some kind. But we did have one. It's Galarian Farfetch'd. Now, you might be wondering why I didn't go with Sirfetch'd. Sirfetch'd doesn't wield just a sword. He wields a shield as well. Kenpachi doesn't give a crap about that stuff. No, Kenpachi is straight on combat berserker, just fighting straight on sword to sword. Doesn't care. He'll take the cut and keep on coming. That's just how Kenpachi rolls. Okay, so Farfetch'd, he definitely looks like this guy with a big old sword, like a Kodachi or something like that. And the Galarian version of Farfetch'd is a fighting type as opposed to the flying type the original Farfetch'd is. And I like the idea of this because it represents Kenpachi more like at a younger phase of his life. Like maybe Kid Kenpachi, when we see him, he's still got that giant sword, but he's this little kid. And he's just wheeling it around, and, he goes in for, the attack. To evolve a Galarian Farfetch'd, you need to get 3 critical hits in one battle, if I'm not mistaken. Which isn't easy unless you have, like, the Big Leak, I believe it's called. So, I will say it's not maybe the best, but I do think, like, fitting Kenpachi's younger years, it's not bad whatsoever. So next, I want to get this one right out of the way. The one that we all need to talk about is, who is Yajiru? Because if you watch Bleach, obviously you know that Yajiru was implied to be at any rate his actual Zanpakuto spirit manifested. Now, there's still debate on if that was true or not. It does seem to be true with all the amount of hints we get. But for the majority of the series, Yajiru is this little girl Shinigami, this little kid who he found and nurtured and raised, and is basically his closest friend and confidant. Is this bubbly little girl who was frightfully strong. So, who was the best fit for that? Well, I'm like, okay, she's got some cat-like appearance. Like, her spirituality actually takes the form of a cat. She's kind of cat-like, surprisingly. But I'm like, I don't really have anything that fits for that. I don't want to go with a Meowth or anything like that. And she's way too bubbly for something like a Meowth. So I'm like, okay, she's got pink hair. It's got to be some sort of fairy type. That, I think, it goes without saying. I'm like, well, and I'm looking through all the fairies. Okay, a pink one. She's got a thing for candy, maybe like a Slurpuff or something. No, or cotton. No. Then I'm like, well, Jigglypuffs can be scary. Jigglypuffs are fun, bubbly, but obviously the one in the anime got really pissed off when you fell asleep during its song. So, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I think, honestly, a Jigglypuff kind of fits pretty well. It would also be funny to see a Jigglypuff just on Kenpachi's shoulder, just say, Jiggly. Yeah, all right, Jigglypuff, I'm about to rampage. Get up. Just like I could see that happening. That'd be pretty funny. So yeah, Jigglypuff, I think, represents our Yajiru on his team. Now we get into two more that make sense, but this next one I want to get out of the way, because when I play Ruby and Sapphire, sometimes we give our characters nicknames, and sometimes I'll make a team based off a certain concept. One time I made a Bleach team. Now, I think I started with a Skeptile, named it Zangetsu because it had a blade, and Zangetsu's Tensho looked like a blade. I caught a Torkoal, I named it Ryujin Jaka. I believe I named my Milotic Mizuki. And I named my Zangoose Kenpachi Zaraki. Now, with Zangoose, I'm like, okay, what fits with Zaraki here exactly with Zangoose? When you look at because Zangooses are actually pretty combat hardened Pokemon. They got immunity from poison, which Zaraki, we don't know if Zaraki is really immune to poison. Mayuri's little sneak attack in the final arc kind of disproves that to some degree, but it's very likely he's got a high resistance. But more importantly, I felt that just aesthetics-wise, this actually looks like a Pokemon Kenpachi would have. This looks like a fighter. This looks like a warrior-type Pokemon. It's raggedy. It's ratty looking. It looks like he's got a scar thanks to that little red mark. I actually have always liked Zangoose quite a bit. I'm glad Ruby was the Zangoose, was the one Zangoose came in. Although I really do like Seviper too. I love snakes. But yeah, I'm glad I had Zangoose over Seviper, if I'm going to be frank. But yeah, when you get into Seviper and Zangoose's like history, it's in their DNA to fight each other basically to the death almost. So there you go. It's because that's what it is for Kenpachi. It's pretty much in his DNA to fight to the death and love fighting. And honestly, yeah, this makes a lot of sense to me ultimately. It's just something that makes it's a Pokemon. It's got two big gnarly claws on each hand, perfect blades. It's ratty looking, ragged looking, something Kenpachi would probably dig on very much. And it's a fighter. It's a warrior. I've always liked Zangoose a lot. It's actually, would I say it's in my top 10 favorite Gen 3 Pokemon? Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, Skeptile, because we're going by Pokemon, not the actual evolutionary line. I actually see Grovile's design is a bit better than Skeptile's, but so Grovile's in there. Metagross is definitely in there. Torkoal, honestly, is one of my favorites. Milotic's on there. Absol. Ooh, Groudon. Yeah, I'd put Zangoose in my top 10. I'd put him in my top. I don't know where my top 10. I wasn't like listing that from first to best, but yeah. So we got our last two Pokemon here. Now, there are two aspects of Kenpachi we haven't talked about yet. His Zanpakuto itself, Nozarashi, the weathered one, or weather-beaten, and his actual Ryatsu. So let's talk about the energy part of Kenpachi. Among the things Kenpachi Zaraki is known for is his overwhelming spiritual pressure, even by the captain standards. Like spiritual pressure, obviously, is if you're not familiar with the character, why are you watching this video? But if you're not familiar with the character or Bleach, in Bleach, the captains access their spiritual energy. It's their life energy. It's energy, and it can be used for attacks, defense. It can be used to create spiritual pressure, which is basically gravity around your opponent. But you can offset that with your own spiritual pressure. And if you're focusing it, it can just show off like an energy aura. With Kenpachi, who did gain control over it to some degree later on in the series, it's always been an unruly, nearly uncontrollable, but also monstrous to the point that most he took on two other captains at the same time and beat one of them soundly, and most likely would have beaten the other had the other not run away. He can go toe-to-toe. He's widely considered to be one of the strongest characters, one of the strongest captains in the Gotei. And in terms of just straight Ryatsu spiritual energy, there's no doubt he is probably the strongest one. It takes the form of this yellow aura of massive energy. Sometimes it has a skull image behind him. So the question is, what Pokemon do I get for that? The skull image could be a dust skull, but that does not represent energy. When I'm thinking energy, I'm like, okay, a Pokemon that could maybe use Aura, but Lucario doesn't fit with Zaraki at all. And that's really the only Pokemon I know that can use Aura. How about a Pokemon with Psychic Energy? But that doesn't fit Kenpachi's motif. So I'm thinking, okay, it's got to be a Fire type or an Electric type. And Fire, I'm like, nah, Fire doesn't work, because there's plenty of other characters that have actual Fire type Zanpakutos, Fire type abilities. Kenpachi, no. And because it's yellow, electricity seems to make a bit more sense. So I'm like, okay, electric type Pokemon, electric type Pokemon. Okay, what type of electric Pokemon? Is like, no, Electabuzz is cool, but no, it's gotta be something. It's gotta be a powerhouse electric Pokemon. And I'm like, well, I didn't go any legendaries yet on Kenpachi's team, surprisingly, and Kenpachi is certainly someone who would have legendaries on his team. Thundurus, particularly the alternate form of Thundurus. Now, why the alternate form of Thundurus? Well, with the original Thundurus, Landorus, and oh god, Thundurus, Landorus, I can't remember the other one's name. Because Landorus, I believe, is the ground one. Oh god. Anyway, Tornadus, that's it. Tornadus, Thundurus, and Landorus. They all are basically like Jinn. They're genies of the elements, basically. However, their mirror forms, their alternate forms, take on the forms of creatures of some kind. I believe Landorus takes the form of like a lion. Tornadus takes on the form of a bird, and then Tornadus takes this form. And I'm like, well, why? Why? What is this form supposed to kind of be? Is it supposed to be like a dragon? I think it is supposed to kind of be more of a dragon than anything else. But I chose Thundurus because it's a legendary Pokemon. It's an electric Pokemon, so you get the giant energy aura of electricity. That works. There also aren't a lot of electric type Zanpakutos, so I wouldn't really be stealing a prime candidate for someone else later on. Although this guy could probably go into Sasabisuke's team, probably. And I mean, I'm more than capable of doing repeats on teams, certainly. But more to the point that this form is, I think, the closest I could find to something that resembled his Bankai's form. Now, again, we talked about Shikai and Bankai. Just to reiterate, Shikai is the original standard release of your Zanpakuto. It can change the form of your Zanpakuto depending on what your Zanpakuto actually is and does. For instance, I'm just trying to think here. For instance, with a character known as Kaname Tozen, when he releases his Shikai, his sword doesn't change his form, but he gains extra abilities. With someone like Kenpachi, however, his sword turns into a giant F-off war axe cleaver that can burst meteors and cut through to space itself. So yeah, it's a pre-beast. But his Bankai is a full realization of what his power actually is, what his soul is, because the Zanpakuto ultimately is you. You and your Zanpakuto are the same being. Your Zanpakuto is nothing more than an extension of you. Because how a Zanpakuto works is you impart your soul in there, your energy in there, until the spirit manifests. But that spirit is just nothing more than a reflection of you. So Kenpachi's, who we still don't know the name of his Bankai, turns into basically a Kishin, an Oni of war and fighting and damn. I always loved the term Kishin. I like the idea of a Kishin. A being of just destruction and power and death. And this is, I think, the closest Pokemon I can find that kind of resembles a Kishin to me. Like, literally, I'm like looking, I'm like, do we have anything that looks like an Oni at all in Pokemon? I'm like, no, we really don't. We need like a ghost type that like has like an Oni mask that it floats around with or something like that. But no, we really don't have Oni Pokemon. So this was, along with his energy, this was the closest one. We're almost at the 20-minute mark, but luckily we're on the last one. So finally, we have to address his actual Zanpakuto, Nozarashi. Now, I'm not going to get an image of Nozarashi up here, but needless to say, again, it is a giant, basically war axe almost. It looks more like a giant meat. In terms of its shape, it's more like a meat cleaver, like a curved meat cleaver. It's not like just square. It is rounded. Well, actually, it's. I could go find an image. I'm not gonna. I should have maybe had an image. Point being, it looks like something that is designed for battle, not for like cutting food. It's a giant war chopper, basically, with a tassel on it. It's a badass design. It really, like when he showed that thing off cutting the meteor, we're all like, damn. So I wanted something. I'm like, okay, do we have anything that's an axe? But more to the point, I remembered another thing about Kenpachi's Bankai. I'm like, okay, yeah, I need something that represents that part of his Bankai. In his Bankai, Zaraki is basically now in a complete berserker state. There is nothing that, like, he's going off, he just keeps attacking, he doesn't seem to respond to anything. I wanted a Pokemon that knew Outrage. I needed a Pokemon to do Outrage because that's essentially what Outrage does. You keep attacking and attacking with monstrous force, but you ultimately end up confused and could end up hurting yourself, like Zaraki did when he freaking blew off his arm, and you're like, I gave you too much power, your body couldn't handle it. So I'm like, okay, I need a Pokemon with Outrage and something that represents Nozarashi, and then I'm like, ooh, Haxorus, but not just normal Haxorus. No, I realized, wait, shiny Haxorus is black like the Shihaksho that the Shinigami use, and it's got a freaking axe for a face, and it can learn Outrage. You bet your ass this is the bird Pokemon to end out because Zaraki's team. It's perfect. You add Outrage for his Bankai. You add the fact that his head is already a freaking axe. And you add the fact that he's the shiny version of Haxorus is freaking, it's just jet black with some red, which the red even works with Zaraki's Bankai because his skin goes basically blood red to like turn, because he's turning basically into an Oni. It's perfect. Like, at least in my opinion, it's perfect. And I'm not someone who does like the shiny runs or breeds until when I find a shiny, I just randomly find a shiny. I'm like, yay, shiny! But I think I've found 3 shinies in my entire year, in my entirety of playing Pokemon since I was 10. Yeah, maybe not 10. Maybe a little older than 10. But because I started playing actually with gold and silver, not red or blue or yellow. So when did those come out? I think it was like late 90s. So yeah, I would have been around 10. So 20 years of playing Pokemon, I've only had encountered with about 3 shinies, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not even 3. Hold on. I encountered a shiny Wingull and Ruby one time. My sister caught a shiny Swablu at one point. And I captured a shiny Ninkata at one point. That was it. Those were all the shinies I've ever found in my life. I mean, I get it. Shinies are supposed to be special. I do wish they were a little easier to catch. Maybe not. They don't have to be like every 5 Pokemon you catch is a shiny. No, but maybe like every 100 or 200 Pokemon you encounter could be a shiny, something like that, instead of like every 8,000 some odd. Like that just doesn't seem fair to me. Like that, I get the specialness of shinies, I do, but they're still it's really cool that they exist. So I feel like it should be at least a little bit easier to get them. In some way, like even cut the amount of Pokemon you have to encounter in half, for God's sake. I don't know. That's just my opinion. Anyway, though, that is my team for the mighty Kenpachi Zaraki. Jigglypuff for Yajiru. Thundurus for his immense spiritual power and his slightly Oni form. Zangoose for the warrior spirit and his just appearance. Honedge because it's a freaking sword. Farfetch because he looks like a young kid holding a freaking sword with his leek. And finally Haxorus for his Bankai, his Shikai, and his clothing. And so, yeah, what do you think about Kenpachi Zaraki's Pokemon team? Put in the comments below. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. I always really enjoy doing the Pokemon videos. They're pretty simple for me to actually do. I just got to find the Pokemon, find the images, and then have them all lined up here. They're easy to do. They're fun to do. I love them. I'll keep doing them, honestly. Like, this is probably one of my new Sunday, like, things now. Like, this one's a definite I'll keep doing. Kind of like the Lantern Core videos. Like, this and the Lantern Core videos, I don't think I'll stop doing those. Like, these are too fun to do. And I'm certain even if people don't give me the suggestion for it, I'll get to the other Bleach characters at some point. That's just a given. But until then, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Hit that bell if you want notifications. I still got the Death Battle Tournament. We're in the semifinals today. Death Battle Tournament. And I got one more video I wanted to do because this idea came to mind after watching Mandalorian Season 2. So I'm gonna have a Star Wars video that I haven't done just straight Star Wars video in years, actually. But until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And I will see you folks on the flip side next time. On the next time. I'm done. Bye.